Mike Pence rally.
Great to be with
He is trying to rally the faithful, and we understand he's going to get into some meat of Donald Trump's proposals for eliminating Obamacare. Let's listen
in America like no other, Dr. Ben Carson. Thank you, Ben. It's great to be here with all of you and with so many distinguished former colleagues from my years in Congress. And thank you all for coming today. It's wonderful to be back in Pennsylvania, just a short way outside of Valley Forge. A turning point in the Revolutionary War, where Americans first showed the resilience and determination to launch this experiment in freedom that has been the marvel of the world. I must say, I appreciate Dr. Carson's introduction, but he knows me well enough to know the introduction I prefer is a little bit shorter. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And it's humbling for me to think that it was a little more than 3 months ago, with my wife Karen at my side, that I accepted my party's nomination to run and serve as the next Vice President of the United States of America. And I have to tell you, I joined this campaign in a heartbeat, because you have nominated a man for president who never quits, who never backs down. He is a fighter. He is a winner. And until not too long ago, it seemed like he was out there fighting all on his own. But now this movement is coming together. Pennsylvania is coming together. And we're going to make Donald Trump the next president of the United States of America. And Donald Trump has a plan. The man who wrote The Art of the Deal has got a deal for the American people. We call it the contract with the American voter. Working with Congress, we're going to get this economy growing again. We're going to create 25 million new jobs in the next 10 years with time-honored conservative principles. We're going to lower taxes across the board, reform our tax system. We're going to have trade deals that work for the American worker, and we're going to roll back the avalanche of red tape coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to end the war on American energy once and for all. We're going to invest in America's future, and we're going to bring real choice to education so every child in America has a chance at a world-class education. We're going to secure our borders, end illegal immigration once and for all. We're going to rebuild our military, take care of our veterans, and bring law and order back to every community in the land. But most importantly for today, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. You know, I'm very humbled. I'm very humbled that Donald Trump asked me to serve in this role, and I'm very humbled that he gave me the privilege of addressing this issue with you today and to playing a role in our future administration in bringing about that goal that you just so warmly received. Now, some of you may know that before becoming governor of the state of Indiana, I spent 12 years in the Congress of the United States. I often tell people that if I only had 12 years left to live, I'd want to live it as a member of Congress, because that was the longest 12 years of my life. I mean, it can be a frustrating place, especially back in 2009 and 2010. I was actually the leader of the House Republican Conference, helping to lead the fight with my fellow Republicans against the so-called Affordable Care Act. Now, I said then, we all said then, what's proven to be true, that when you when you order every American to have government-approved health insurance, whether they want it or need it, when you create a government-run plan paid for with job-killing tax increases, that is plain and simple a government takeover of health care. Republicans knew it for what it was. We called it out. And that's the reason why I'm proud to say not one single Republican in the House or Senate voted for Obamacare. Every single one opposed it. And I'm also proud that since 2010, Republicans in Congress have been united and continued to work each and every day to replace Obamacare with free market health care solutions that will work for the American people. You know, good things happen. Good things happen when Americans stand together and when members of my party stand together on Capitol Hill. So I want to say to every American, as you head to the voting booth in just 1 week, know this. We have an opportunity to bring real change to Washington, D.C. The momentum is on our side. The latest polls have Donald Trump leading nationwide in the race for President of the United States. Democrats and independents are joining this movement. Republicans across the country are coming home. Across the spectrum, Americans know that Obamacare has got to be repealed and replaced, and that only by electing Donald Trump as the next president of the United States and re-electing strong Republican majorities in the Congress will we get it done. And we will get it done. I stand before you today because today open enrollment begins on the Obamacare exchanges. And once again, millions of Americans are going to be disappointed by their lack of options. And frankly, they're going to be shocked by the high premiums and the cost of health insurance. This government takeover of health care that we call Obamacare is failing in states across America, as it is here in Pennsylvania. And the case has never been stronger for repeal. It's important to remember, as we talk about it as Obamacare, that Hillary Clinton actually said a little bit earlier this year, and I'm quoting, quote, "Before it was called Obamacare, it was called Hillary Care." You remember the promises that President Obama and Hillary Clinton made just a few years back? Remember they said that the cost of your health premiums would go down. Not true. Remember they said, if you like your doctor, you can keep? Not true. They said, if you like your health insurance plan, you can keep it. Not true. The truth is, premiums for employer plans have gone up by almost $5,000 since President Obama took office. And last week, the Obama administration announced, and this is almost breathtaking to think about it, the Obama administration itself announced that the average premiums under Obamacare exchanges are going to go up 25% on average across this country. But that average hides the specific states where families are about to be pummeled with unprecedented sticker shock. For a 27-year-old buying an Obamacare plan, Arizona's premiums are going up by 116%. Tennessee is going to go up 63%. Minnesota, 59%. Alabama, 58%. And in North Carolina, they're going to go up by 40%. American wages haven't gone up in the last 15 years by any appreciable amount, and yet we're going to see the cost of our own health insurance, the health care of our families, rise dramatically in the next year. Right here in Pennsylvania, that number is a whopping 53% increase for next year, and a total increase of 69% when you add in last year's rate hike. Our paychecks haven't gone up by that amount, but the cost of your health care here in Pennsylvania is. And most heartbreaking of all, in Pennsylvania, almost 110,000 households will see their rates spike drastically with absolutely no help from the government. Now, I remember back in the days in Congress, the very day this bill passed. You remember, Doc? Nancy Pelosi went to the floor of the Congress and said, quote, We have to pass the bill so we can find out what's in it. Well, we found out, and it's even worse than we thought. I mean, what good is a health care plan if you can't afford to use it? With its increasing costs and high deductibles, most people are paying for something they can't afford to use. 50% of Obamacare customers are now skipping medical visits to cut costs. Think about that. Americans are putting their personal health second because Obamacare's skyrocketing costs are too high and too burdensome. Obamacare truly is also it's a crushing weight on the American people, but it's also a crushing weight on the American economy. That's right. I mean, even former President Bill Clinton said, costs are going up, coverage is going down, it's the craziest thing in the world. I guess even with the Clintons, sometimes truth happens. But you know what? Don't be deceived by Bill Clinton's newfound skepticism. I mean, Hillary Clinton's plan is actually to introduce what's called single payer into the system, more government-run health insurance. She actually went to Canada and gave a speech that came out not too long ago. She told Canadians and business groups that she wanted to get, and I'm quoting, universal health care coverage like you have here in Canada. Well, we don't want the socialized health care they have in Canada. We want American solutions. I got to tell you, though, my favorite quote came from President Obama just about a week ago. Down in Florida, he was celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the rollout of Obamacare. And in his, did you hear about this? In his speech, he actually compared Obamacare to the Samsung Galaxy 7 phones that spontaneously burst into flames. I'm serious. President Obama said, here's the quote, when one of these companies comes out with a new smartphone that has a few bugs, what do? They fix it. They upgrade it. Unless it catches fire, then they pull it off the market. Well, what a coincidence, Mr. President, because that's exactly what we're going to do with Obamacare. We're going to pull it off the market so it stops burning up our wallets. You know, it's remarkable when you think about it. Almost 20% of Americans eligible for Obamacare will have only one exchange insurer available this year. One plan is not a choice, it's a monopoly. At least 1.4 million Americans are about to lose their plan in 2017. And that's after millions already lost their plans in the first years of Obamacare. This means that too many people won't be able to continue to see their doctor. It's going to interrupt treatment and care. You know, part of the reason costs went up is because Obamacare dictates that Americans buy a government-designed health insurance plan. We knew that when they passed this bill, laden with expensive and oftentimes very unnecessary benefits. I mean, no wonder that the young and the healthy don't want to buy these plans. I mean, the coverage is expensive. The plans have huge deductibles that people can't afford. I mean, the average deductible for the so-called cheapest category of family plans this year is almost $12,000. That's more than 1/5 of the median household income in the United States. What's worse is that many of our best doctors have opted out of seeing patients with exchange coverage. It's true. But it's also true that Obamacare is killing jobs, and it's destroying small business growth all across the United States of America. It's not only impacting individuals, it's impacting our economy. Obamacare's employer mandates and new taxes have been destructive to the economy, killing jobs and reducing wages and growth. Obamacare actually, in and of itself, imposed more than $1 trillion in new taxes on healthcare providers, taxpayers, and businesses to pay for all these failed policies. It's reduced pay for workers in small businesses and reduced employment by more than 350,000 jobs nationwide. It is an extraordinary record of economic failure. Obamacare's employer mandate raised the minimum cost of hiring a full-time worker to $10.30 an hour for larger employers without increasing take-home pay for anybody. State and local officials have conceded that Obamacare forced municipal governments to cut hours for part-time employees. You know, it's time to end this government takeover of health care and start over with American solutions. For all these reasons and more, when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America and we re-elect strong Republican majorities in Congress, we're going to repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel. Donald Trump's got a plan. We're going to replace Obamacare with health care reform that lowers the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. We're going to reform health insurance in America with the power of the free market. That's the American way that we meet our health care needs and how we meet a boundless American future. The Trump health care plan will make health care more affordable, will put people back in the driver's seat of their health care, not the government. We'll get rid of the individual mandate, because government shouldn't tell you how to spend your money and put priorities in your life. Donald Trump will allow people to purchase health insurance across state lines, just like you can your car insurance and your life insurance. We're going to create a transition period for those receiving subsidies to ensure that Americans don't face disruption or hardship in their coverage while we pull this albatross off the back of the American economy. And we're going to make it easier, working with newly re-elected majorities in Congress, for Americans to open health savings accounts they can use to pay first dollar expenses for their health. You know, I'm kind of proud to say the idea of a tax-free account to pay for medical expenses was actually pioneered back in Indiana. Health savings accounts, if you're not familiar with them, basically allow you to control your health care dollars. Pick your doctors and your treatments that work the best for you without interference from insurance or government bureaucrats. Instead of giving subsidies to big insurance companies, the way Obamacare does, Donald Trump will push health savings accounts that will provide assistance directly to the American people through their health savings accounts. You know, the truth of the matter is, there's an old saying that, you know, when everybody in your house is healthy, you can have a lot of problems. But when one person is sick, you only got one problem. Well, we can relate to that. Health savings accounts will empower families to meet their health care needs. And they can pick the insurance plan that works best for them and their family and gives them the peace of mind that if someone in their household is sick or has a major medical problem, they'll have coverage and they'll have the treatment that they need and deserve. And when it comes to Medicaid, you know, Medicaid started back in 1965 as a health insurance program for the poor. 50 years later, frankly, Medicaid is not only broke, it's broken. And Obamacare has put the majority of new people receiving coverage into a broken Medicaid system. You know, back in the Hoosier State, we actually said no thanks to expanding traditional Medicaid. And we fought for almost 2 years to make coverage more widely available the right way with consumer-driven health care and health savings accounts. And it's working. We call it the Healthy Indiana Plan. I promise you, when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to work with newly re-elected majorities in Congress, and we're going to block grant Medicaid to the states and allow states in America to innovate with consumer-driven, market-driven proposals to meet the health care needs of our most vulnerable people. It's an idea Congress has talked about for years, block granting Medicaid back to the states. Allow our states to be those laboratories of innovation that they've always been throughout our history. States know what's best for their people, and Donald Trump will give new freedom and new flexibility to the people of Pennsylvania to innovate and reform and design programs that'll meet the needs of the people of this state and every state. And health care costs will also come down when people have more control and also know more about what their health care costs are. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to empower Americans with not only greater control over their health care choices, but we'll also empower them with more information about the cost and quality of care in their hometown. Today, frankly, people have very little transparency into the cost and quality of their care. It's frankly easier to compare prices when you're buying a car or buying a television than when you're trying to decide which hospital or doctor to use. Donald Trump's going to fix that. When Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we're going to advance reforms that will allow Americans to see the cost of their care and have the power to make their own choices in health care providers, in physicians, in treatment, and in costs. There'll be more options and more information. And you know, just the way the free market works, healthcare providers are going to be more responsive when they're answering to patients' needs in a competitive marketplace. They're going to be a whole lot more responsive than they are to insurance companies and big government bureaucrats. And make no mistake about it, as we go through this transition, Donald Trump and I will protect Americans with pre-existing conditions so that they're not charged more or denied coverage just because they've been sick. As long as they paid their premiums consistently, they'll have the coverage they need and deserve. And we'll reverse Obamacare's federal takeover of the insurance market altogether. You know, we didn't see the type of rate increases across the nation when the states were running things. So, my friends, the truth of the matter is we're going to empower states once again to manage our health insurance industry and not Washington, D.C. You know, men and women of Pennsylvania, I can tell you the choice in this election couldn't be more clear. With Hillary Clinton, we'll get more of the same from the last 7.5 years. More taxes, more spending, more regulation, and more Obamacare. I mean, we can't trust Hillary Clinton with our health care any more than we can trust her with classified information. Obamacare, the debacle previously known as Hillary Care, was a government takeover of health care from the start, plain and simple. Some of us knew that. Now every American knows that. It upended the miracle of the marketplace. Competition was crushed and replaced with the heavy hand of government control. Obamacare is a catastrophic failure. Hillary Clinton says she wants to double down on that failure. But we still got time to turn this thing around. 7 days, to be exact. Americans can choose a healthcare economy built on freedom, consumer choice, and free market principles. It's just going to take all of us to do it. You know, as I close, let me say it's been deeply humbling for me and for my family to find ourselves in this role. Campaigning with Donald Trump is an incredible experience. I mean, we pull into these rallies, tens of thousands of Americans who know we can make America great again, lining the streets and standing in long lines. But he always says the same thing to me when we're whisking by in that motorcade. He'll nudge me when he looks at the crowd, and he'll say, "Mike, you know, this is not about me. This is not about us. It's not even about our party." He says, "This is a movement of the American people, and the American people are going to make America great again." We can make America great again. We can make health care in America great again, but it's going to take all of us to do it. It's been inspiring to see that movement, independents across America who have been drawn to Donald Trump's call to break the gridlock in Washington, D.C. It's inspiring to see Democrats joining this movement who are tired of liberal policies flowing out of our nation's capital and trade deals that ship jobs overseas. But I would say specifically to some of my fellow Republicans out there who believe we can have a healthcare system built on free market economy and consumer choice, we need to say with one voice, it's time to come home. It's time to come home and elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States. It's time to come home and re-elect Republican majorities in the United States House of Representatives and the Senate. And it's time to come home to bring their 30-year obsession with government-run health care to an end by ensuring that Hillary Clinton is never elected president of the United States of America. So, ladies and gentlemen, with 1 week to go before a great victory for the American people, I give you the man with the vision, the agenda, the leadership necessary to restore freedom to our healthcare economy and make America great again. Join me in welcoming the next president of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Thank you, everyone.